It started as the most peaceful morning I'd had in months. The mist rolled lazily over my private lake, the soft hum of nature surrounding the wooden dock where I stood, fishing line cast into still waters. This land wasn't just property, it was my sanctuary. After 20 years of service as a 911 dispatcher and later as director of our county's emergency communications center, I bought this 80-acre ranch to escape chaos, not invite it. But that morning, chaos came knocking, disguised in khaki shorts, sunglasses, and entitlement. From across the lake, I spotted them, 3 members of the newly formed homeowners association from the development bordering my property. They'd been trouble since day one. Ever since the subdivision's new residents moved in, they believed they owned every blade of grass within sight. And today, they'd crossed the invisible line between arrogance and trespass. The leader of the trio, a woman named Karen, yes, that was her real name, cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted, "Hey! You can't fish here. This lake belongs to the HOA now." I laughed under my breath, shaking my head. The absurdity almost amused me. "Ma'am," I called back, "this lake is on my deed. You can check the county records." She scoffed. "We've voted it into the association. It's community property now." I reeled in my line, irritation replacing amusement. That's not how ownership works. But she wasn't listening. She turned to her companions with a dramatic sigh. "He's refusing to leave. I'm calling 911. And that was the moment she sealed her own fate. Because what she didn't know was that 911 calls in this county were routed directly through my office. And I was still the director. Minutes later, as I packed my fishing gear, my phone buzzed. Dispatch notification. Caller: Karen B. Location: HOA Subdivision, Lake Access. Complaint: Trespasser on Community Lake. I couldn't help it, a chuckle escaped my lips. They'd really done it. I radioed into my deputy dispatcher. "Patch the call to my desk," I said, slipping into my truck. "I'll handle this one personally." On the way, I thought about the past year. The HOA had been harassing me ever since their builder claimed the boundary lines extended into my property. I'd shown them the survey, the legal description, even the county assessor's map. They ignored it all. They wanted my lake. They wanted my peace. And they'd just made a very big mistake. When I pulled up to the community entrance, 2 sheriff's deputies were already waiting, responding to the 911 call. Karen was standing there, hands on hips, voice sharp as broken glass. "Officers, that man refuses to leave our lake. He's trespassing." The deputies glanced at me, instantly recognizing my face. "Director Cole," one of them said, eyebrows raised. "This the trespasser?" I nodded calmly. "Apparently." Karen blinked, confusion replacing her smugness. "Wait, you know him?" The younger deputy chuckled. "Ma'am, he's our 911 director. He's literally our boss." Her face drained of color. I stepped forward, holding a folder from my truck. "Here's the property line," I said evenly, handing the officers a certified copy of my deed, complete with the lake boundaries highlighted. "Every inch of that shoreline is mine. The HOA has no jurisdiction." Karen snatched the papers, scanning them with trembling hands. But the builder said." "The builder lied," I cut in, voice calm but firm. "And the next time you use emergency services to enforce a fake claim, I'll file a complaint for misuse of 911 resources." The deputies exchanged looks. One stepped forward. "Ma'am, he's right. 911 is for emergencies. You can't use it to settle property disputes." She tried to recover, stammering excuses. I thought he was." I didn't let her finish. "You thought you could bully your neighbor into giving up his land. You thought a badge and sirens would scare me off. But I am the badge and sirens." The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the sound of wind over the lake. The deputies cleared the scene, reminding the HOA members to handle disputes through legal channels. But as I turned to leave, Karen's eyes burned with quiet fury. I knew it wasn't over. Over the next month, the harassment escalated. Notices taped to my gate claiming HOA fees were due. Threatening letters accusing me of violating community rules. One morning, I even found a "for sale" sign planted in my yard. But I'd dealt with worse in my career: panicked calls, real emergencies, lives on the line. I wasn't about to be shaken by a few self-appointed neighborhood tyrants. So, I did what I do best: I documented everything. I kept every letter, recorded every conversation, and hired a surveyor to reaffirm my boundaries. When the HOA finally filed a civil complaint claiming the lake was community property, I was ready. court day arrived like a storm. The HOA board sat smugly at their table, led by Karen in a sharp navy blazer. She smiled at me like victory was guaranteed. But when the judge entered, her expression shifted. Because sitting beside me was the county attorney, a personal friend, and my witness stack was a foot high. I rose to speak, calm and measured. Your Honor, the plaintiff claims ownership of land they neither purchased nor maintain. The lake in question is part of Parcel 187B, legally described and taxed under my name. Furthermore, the plaintiff has repeatedly harassed me, misused emergency services, and attempted to extort access through false claims. The judge frowned. You said they misused 911. I nodded. We have the call transcript. When the recording played, Karen's shrill voice demanding police removal of a trespasser, the courtroom shifted. The judge's tone hardened. Mrs. B, you understand this is a criminal misuse of emergency services. Karen's bravado crumbled. I didn't know. Ignorance, the judge said sternly, is no defense. By the end of the hearing, the HOA's claim was dismissed with prejudice. They were ordered to pay my legal fees, issue a written apology, and cease all contact regarding the lake. But that wasn't the best part. A week later, the HOA's insurance provider dropped their liability policy after reviewing the court's decision. Without insurance, the association couldn't legally operate. Within months, the HOA dissolved entirely. The subdivision went quiet. The letters stopped. The lake returned to peace. One evening, as the sun dipped low, I stood once again on my dock, the water painted gold and crimson. I thought about how close I'd come to losing this serenity to arrogance. How easily good people get bullied into submission by those waving fake authority. But not this time. This time, the call for help had come straight to the one person they couldn't intimidate. Injustice, like the still water around me, reflected every lie they tried to cast. I cast my line again, smiling to myself. They wanted me off my lake. Now they couldn't even step foot near it.